Allah commands us in the Quran to feed the poor and the orphan and the prisoner. And this feeding of the prisoner initially was addressed towards the prisoners of war that were captured at Badr, at the Battle of Badr, and Allah is enjoining the believers at that time to feed them. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ also in his hadith, in his saying, enjoined the believers to feed those prisoners of war. These were people that had gone out to harm the Muslims, and Allah is enjoining that they be treated in a good way and to nourish them. And so even though that was the literal reason that the verse was revealed, the lesson is that we should take care of the prisoners. And so the Mufassirun mention that if Allah is telling us to treat well and to nourish our non-Muslim brothers who were taken as prisoners after trying to harm us, then what about our Muslim brothers who are in prison, languishing in various prisons around the US or the world? And what is our duty to help them, to nourish them? So that's my primary driving factor. The field of prison outreach has a number of aspects. There's the aspect of prison advocacy and advocating for their rights, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. There's transitional housing for aiding in re-entry. There's re-entry programs. There's rehabilitation programs. And then there's education. And then within education, there's Islamic education and so forth. What we realize is that all of these various areas are really areas within themselves. So we focused on our niche area and our core strength, which was Islamic education, and that's where we've all of our programs now center around. We've found that really studying and practicing and implementing Islam properly is a rehabilitation program. So, and it will help them in re-entry. So all of those other areas, whether it's their re-entry process into society or maintaining a disciplinary-free life in prison and then a crime-free life outside of prison, Islam is at the core of that. So even within our Islamic education, we've honed in specifically on character development and behavior modification. What we would term in the Islamic terminology, akhlaq, and adab and etiquette and akhlaq, and also the process of tawbah, the process of repentance. So what they term now in modern psychology behavior modification, and the whole process of pre-contemplation and contemplation and all of the process of behavior modification, we have it as the process of tawbah. So all of our educational programs revolve around that process. In Mauritania, there's two sayings. One is that the gift of the student is to have a teacher. There's always people that want to study and they can't find a teacher to teach them. So the gift of the student is to find a teacher, but the gift of the teacher is to find a student. Because if you don't have a student to keep the teaching alive, you're not able to use to use the skills that you have or to pass on the knowledge that you have. So I find that in teaching any students, but the majority of my students right now are incarcerated. So that's the gift that they're giving to me, the opportunity to teach. Right now, in spring 2015, we have over 240 students. We have 243 students registered, and in the coming semester, we're expecting closer to 500 because right now on our waiting list are over 200 students. And the only reason why we're not able to service them is because of lack of funding. What I've grown to realize over the years of working with prisoners is realizing the human potential of these individuals. When we hear about stories of the Sahaba, if you took some of those Sahaba before they were Muslim and you put them in California circa 2015, they would be sent off to prison for the crimes that they committed. And yet when they became Muslim, and we look at them, we say, radiyallahu anhu. We speak of them in a respectful and giving them honorific titles and saying, may Allah be pleased with them because of this change, because of this transformation. The Muslims in America and in the West really have to realize that we have to address this problem, that we have to address the need for prisoners to have access to the tools that they can use to help them reform their lives and to bring out their full potential. We as Muslims, in addition to when we're giving of our time, when we're giving of our money to help the poor, to help the orphans, we should also give a portion of our time and our money to help the prisoners in whatever capacity that might be.